In ancient Rome, as the golden sun sets over the eternal city, every street and structure seems to whisper tales of a glorious past. Every stone, every patch of land here has witnessed countless moments of triumph and tragedy. The 1st century BC marked the golden era of Rome. With flourishing trade, thriving arts, and unmatched military might, its influence stretched from the far reaches of Persia in the east to the vast Atlantic in the west. Yet, at this very pinnacle of its glory, power struggles within Rome were intensifying like never before. At the time, 3 names resonated in every corner of the city. They were the military genius who conquered Gaul, Caesar, the long-renowned conqueror of the East, Pompey, and the globally famous man of boundless wealth, Crassus. These 3 were known as Rome's Triumvirate, holding power that could dictate the fate of the entire empire. Together, they were invincible. Apart, they clashed with the fiery intensity of erupting volcanoes. This brief yet intense alliance would not just reshape Roman history, but also determine the course of the classical world. As we delve deeper into this narrative, you'll witness a tale woven with power, strategy, and destiny, a legend of rule, betrayal, and glory. In the golden age of ancient Rome, the destinies of 3 men intertwined. Their story not only shaped the fate of an empire, but also rewrote the chapters of history. First up, Caesar, the future dictator. Born into an old Roman family, he rose through the military ranks, becoming one of the greatest military tacticians. He once proclaimed, "I'd rather be the leader in a village than the second in Rome." His military conquest of Gaul not only expanded Rome's territory, but also won him the adoration of the public and the loyalty of his troops. Then there's Pompey, known as the Great. In his early years, he defeated pirates, ensuring the safety of Rome's maritime trade routes. His conquests in the East crowned him a hero within the Roman Empire. Pompey's pride can be encapsulated in his words, "With one footstep into Rome, I could crush her." Last but not least, Crassus, the wealthiest Roman in history. His vast fortune and cunning gave him a powerful voice in Rome's political arena. Through savvy investments and the spoils of war, he built an empire of wealth. Yet, with all his gold, he constantly felt the shadow of the military feats of his 2 peers. Now, these 3 giants, each legendary in their own right, found it a tough game navigating Rome's cutthroat politics solo. So, they did what any smart trio would: they teamed up. This power pact brought a moment of calm to Rome, but little did they know, they were also setting the stage for some of the most epic showdowns in history. Dive with us into the tale of the Triumvirate, a saga of alliance, rivalry, and the ultimate backstabs. In the grand theater of Roman politics, power and strategy dance a timeless tango. When 3 giants, each distinct in background and triumphs, crossed paths, they knew going it alone was out of the question. Caesar, fresh off the glories of his newly conquered Gaul, needed funds and political clout to cement his wins and ensure stability. Crassus, with wealth beyond measure, yearned for greater political standing and a taste of military accolades. Pompey, already celebrated as a hero, felt his political sway waning and sought reinforcement. Their ambitions differed, but they swiftly realized a united front could amplify their gains. Together, they formed the first political triumvirate in history, famously known as the 3 Giants. This wasn't just a tactical play. It was a well-orchestrated move to pool their resources, wisdom, and influence, securing both Rome's stability and their stake in its future. Caesar tapped into Crassus's wealth to fund his legions, while Pompey secured Caesar's military backing to fortify his political stature. Crassus, on the other hand, leveraged these 2 powerful allies to boost his clout within the Senate. Together, this trio formed a symbiotic cycle, collectively ensuring Rome's stability. Yet, with power always comes rivalry and ambition. Though this new alliance appeared unbreakable, the underlying motives and plays set the stage for unpredictable twists in Rome's saga. On Rome's horizon, three formidable forces emerged, creating the unparalleled Triumvirate alliance. Yet, behind these three lay a web of complex emotions and schemes. Caesar's expeditions in Gaul were not just for Rome's sake, but for his political ambitions. With successive victories, he managed to get the Gallic tribes to recognize Roman rule while amassing a fortune in spoils. But the Gallic campaigns weren't all smooth sailing. Caesar nearly faced defeat against the Vercingetorix tribe, but a stroke of tactical genius sealed his eventual triumph. Pompey, once hailed as Rome's premier citizen, found his reputation slightly lacking in the eastern campaigns. His adversary, Mithridates VI, was Rome's long-standing nemesis in the east. After several battles, Pompey finally bested him at the Battle of Lucullus, cementing Rome's dominance in the east. Crassus, a man whose wealth and influence far outshone his military achievements. But deep down, he harbored a dream: to match the battlefield renown of both Caesar and Pompey. Still, he set his sights on a challenging conquest, targeting the enigmatic and mighty Parthian Empire. For Crassus, it wasn't just a campaign, but a grand stage to prove his military prowess. Yet, behind the successes of these three titans, cracks were beginning to form in the very fabric of Rome. Their personal disputes, combined with an insatiable hunger for power, put this great alliance on shaky ground, with the destiny of the Roman Empire hanging in the balance. Rome, the ancient metropolis, was no stranger to inner tension stemming from conflicts of interest. The Triumvirate once stood as the bedrock of Roman politics, but now it faced its first real test. As word reached the city of Crassus's downfall and demise in Parthia, Rome was stunned. He wasn't just a member of the Triumvirate, he was Rome's wealthiest man. His death disrupted the delicate balance of this political alliance. The existence of the Triumvirate ensured no single leader in Roman politics could dominate entirely. Each member held sway over a distinct facet of Roman power, be it military, economic, or political. Together, they kept Rome balanced and steady. Crassus's role, particularly buoyed by his immense wealth, was pivotal in maintaining this equilibrium. With Crassus's departure, this tripartite balance teetered on the edge. His demise marked the loss of a cornerstone in the alliance, intensifying the tensions and rivalries between Caesar and Pompey. This rift wasn't just a matter of individual power plays. It had the potential to profoundly impact the entire Roman Empire. Beyond his riches, Crassus also played the part of a mediator. While Caesar and Pompey both had remarkable military achievements, their well-known disagreements were a constant source of tension. Crassus often acted as the middleman, smoothing over differences between the two, ensuring the alliance's stability. With Crassus out of the picture, the discord between Caesar and Pompey started to escalate. Both were outstanding military leaders and politicians, armed with vast ambitions and their own loyal followings. Without Crassus as the intermediary, their differences began to widen. Caesar's conquests in Gaul and Pompey's victories in the east were meant to be Rome's pride, but now they became the focal points of their rivalry. Caesar and Pompey, two towering leaders, should have jointly safeguarded Rome's prosperity. Yet, driven by ambition and interests, their relationship grew increasingly tense, casting a shadow of uncertainty over Rome. As time progressed, political storms in Rome escalated. The delicate equilibrium of the First Triumvirate was shattered with the death of Crassus, deepening the rift between Caesar and Pompey. The tension between the two felt like a volcano on the brink of eruption, waiting for just the right trigger. That trigger was Caesar's crossing of the Rubicon. According to Roman law, no general was allowed to lead an army into the city of Rome. Doing so could be interpreted as an act of treason or a blatant grab for power. The Rubicon River, a relatively minor river in Italy, served as a boundary separating Rome from the Gallic territories governed by Caesar. Crossing it was a direct challenge to Roman authority. Caesar had numerous political disagreements with the Senate, particularly with his former ally, Pompey. By crossing the Rubicon, he was not just defying a law, but signaling a pivotal and confrontational shift in Roman politics. Caesar's impressive series of military victories in Gaul did not go unnoticed, yet the Roman Senate consistently tried to curb his growing power. Adding to his concerns, his tenure as a commander was coming to an end. Without the protection of his army, returning to Rome would leave Caesar vulnerable to persecution by political adversaries. There were even whispers that he might be charged with treason. Caesar's ambitions were not limited to personal power. He envisioned a reformed Roman political system that reduced the privileges of the aristocracy and expanded rights to a broader segment of citizens. He realized that in order to implement his reforms, he needed to directly confront the existing power structures of the Senate. Leading his army across the river was not just a physical act of entering Rome for Caesar. It symbolized a challenge to the Roman Republic and signaled the ignition of the Roman Civil War's flames. For many Romans, Caesar's move was undeniably a betrayal. Yet for Caesar and his supporters, it represented a stance against the Senate's injustices and oppression. The ensuing civil war wasn't a straightforward confrontation. Amid this political and military turmoil, the Battle of Pharsalus emerged as a pivotal turning point. On this ancient battleground, the armies of Caesar and Pompey clashed fiercely, determining the fate of the Roman Republic. Imagine two former BFFs now facing off on opposite sides. This wasn't just any fight. It was a clash of brains, strategies, and pure grit. At Pharsalus, it went beyond military showdowns. This was about the heart and soul of how Rome should be governed. Caesar? He was all about changing the game and taking Rome to the next level. On the other side, Pompey wanted to stick to the classic Rome vibes, giving props to the Senate's old-school authority. Whoever came out on top here, well, they were basically deciding the next big trend for Rome and the lives of countless peeps. With Caesar's troops hot on his heels, Pompey booked it out of Rome, aiming to chill in Egypt, far from Caesar's grasp. Egypt, with all its ancient charm, was an old buddy of his. He was betting they'd hook him up with a safe hideout. But man, did he get that one wrong. The moment Pompey hit Egyptian soil, he got a welcome that was straight up cold-blooded. To score some brownie points with Caesar, Egypt's young ruler Ptolemy III pulled a sneaky move and ordered a hit on Pompey. The Ptolemies weren't exactly the most stable rulers in Egypt. They were always on the lookout for some external backing to keep their rule tight. Pompey crashing in Egypt, it threw them into a political tailspin. The Ptolemies were torn. Back their old pal Pompey or roll with Caesar. Given Caesar's military clout and his rep in Rome, Ptolemy XIII probably thought it was smarter to slide into Team Caesar, taking out Pompey. That was Ptolemy's twisted idea of a gift for Caesar. Ptolemy III was hoping that by pulling this stunt, Caesar would back him up in the sibling rivalry with his sis, Cleopatra. Plus, Ptolemy probably figured that if he let Pompey hang around, the guy might flex his Roman connections and become a major pain for his reign. And just like that, one of Rome's greats met a tragic end on unfamiliar turf. Not long after, Caesar rolls into Egypt. Seeing Pompey's head presented as a gift? Man, tears filled his eyes. They might have been rivals, but the bond and history Caesar shared with Pompey, that's not something you just brush off. Caesar was super pissed about the whole assassination gig, feeling it was a total slap in the face to a legendary general. Rome was rapidly reshaping under Caesar's rule. His governance kindled dissatisfaction among republicans, but in reality, his reforms generally served to positively propel Rome's development. One of the most notable of these was the introduction of the Julian calendar, which corrected long-standing chronological inaccuracies and lays the foundation for the calendar used by most countries today. However, for the old guard in the Senate, his reforms were a threat to their interests. Rome had long been a republic, prizing the decisions of the Senate and the People's Assembly. Caesar's concentration of power diluted the authority of the Senate, straying from Rome's traditional political values. His swath of reforms likely posed threats to the interests of certain traditional elites. He distributed new lands and power to his followers, jeopardizing the standing of traditional aristocracy. Bestowed with the title of dictator for life, Caesar could hypothetically wield power indefinitely, an unprecedented notion in Roman political structure. While Julius Caesar never officially claimed the title of emperor, his public actions, especially accepting honors typically reserved for royalty, hinted at monarchical ambitions. Caesar began bypassing the Senate for several decisions. This consolidation of power raised concerns among many senators, fearing it could lead to governmental corruption and a lack of checks and balances. His audacious move to allow his likeness to be placed within temples alongside deities was a significant departure from traditional Roman religious customs. Such actions profoundly disrupted the established societal norms and power structures of the time. Under Caesar's leadership, the reach of the Roman Empire expanded dramatically, from the deserts of North Africa to the forests of northern Europe, and from the Atlantic coasts of Spain to the rugged terrains of Syria. However, rapid expansion came with its set of challenges. Many of the newly annexed territories harbored animosity towards Roman rule. Inside the empire, there was growing unease over Caesar's unchecked authority. Given this atmosphere, a faction within the Senate saw an opportunity to act. They believed that ending Caesar's reign was the only way to restore the Republic to its former glory, and so a plot to assassinate him was hatched. As Caesar stepped into the Senate chamber, an unsettling tension permeated the room. Despite the spring sunlight streaming in, a chilling undertone seemed to grip the hearts of those present. Caesar's instincts sensed an anomaly, but as Rome's perpetual dictator, he couldn't afford to show fear. Delving deeper into the chamber, a senator named Titus Annius Libo approached, feigning a petition for Caesar's review. Caesar paused, leaning forward to discern the details of the petition, only to realize it was a ruse. In that moment, the first dagger found its mark in Caesar's back. To his horror, as he turned, he was met with a barrage of senators, each wielding their own blade, aiming for him. He attempted to resist, but his wounds were too grievous, and escape was beyond his reach. The air grew colder when Brutus, a man Caesar held in the highest esteem and trust, also raised his dagger. Meeting Brutus's gaze, Caesar whispered, "Et tu, Brutus?" A fatal blow followed, and Caesar crumpled heavily onto the stone floors of the Senate. The Senate chamber stood in haunting silence, punctuated only by the soft sound of Caesar's final breaths and the slow drip of blood pooling beside him. That day marked a turning point in Roman history, concluding the reign of Caesar's perpetual dictatorship. Caesar's demise plunged Rome into turmoil, setting the stage for the eventual rise of the Roman Empire. Few figures in Roman history stand as tall as the Triumvirate of Caesar, Pompey, and Crassus. With their individual prowess, wisdom, and ambition, They once collectively held sway over this ancient republic. Their alliances and divisions not only encapsulated the political and social tensions of their era, but also shaped the trajectory of the Roman Empire. Caesar's authoritative reign and subsequent death signaled the wane of the Roman Republic and the dawn of the Empire era. As for Pompey and Crassus, their fates underscored the merciless and unpredictable nature of the power play. The rise, alliance, division, and clashes of these three titans not only redirected Roman history, but left an indelible mark on Western civilization. Their narratives remind us how individual choices and actions can determine the fate of a nation and indeed an entire civilization. Now, as the Roman Empire ascends, a grander and more intricate chapter is unfolding. Thanks for watching the video until the end. If there's a specific historical topic or figure you're keen on learning more about, please leave your suggestions in the comments below. I'll definitely take all your feedback to heart. Can't wait to hear from you. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, or drop a comment. Cheers!